Welcome. I'm going to be sharing with you in this episode of the podcast, Piscean Ponderings, a few different things. This is going to be another long video, of course, and what we're going to do is go over first year one, for a curriculum, extensive curriculum. We're going to be looking over it. Get my textbook with me. Alright, I think I got it. Hopefully. One moment. Alright, so in this video, we're going to look at year one, the restoration, this curriculum in extended form for the Faculty of Transdimensional Cosmology by the Institute of Celestial and Interior Architectures, and it's for the Master of Advanced Astrologically-Based Arts and Astronomy, a conceptual degree. Unless you guys actually know where to go to get this degree and or certificate. Alright. The restoration is not remedial. It is reconstructive. We do not teach what astrology is or what astronomy is. We teach what was torn apart and how the repair might begin. Each module is a surgical intervention in the history of knowledge. Each assignment is a suture between worlds. Let's look at Module 101, which is History of the Divorce, how astronomy and astrology parted ways, and what was lost on both sides. We have our chair of epistemic archaeology as our module director with our credit weight, 4 trans-dimensional credits. With our delivery, it's 12 weekly seminars and 2 temporal fieldwork intensive prerequisite willingness to unlearn. So let's look at our description. This module does not ask when astrology and astronomy separated. It asks whether they were ever truly joined, or whether the separation was a necessary birth trauma, a mutilation, or a gradual forgetting disguised as progress. We trace the divorce not as a single event, but as a process of epistemic speciation. In Mesopotamia, the Skywatcher was a single figure, Tupsar Inuma Anu Enlil, scribe of the Omen series, who recorded planetary positions and interpreted their significance for king and crops. No distinction existed between observation and meaning. Both were the same duty. By the 18th century, the same act of looking at Jupiter through an eyepiece and looking at Jupiter to cast a horoscope had become 2 different professions, 2 different languages, 2 different realities. This module excavates how that happened and who paid the price. So now that we got all that, we go into our key topics. Week 1 through 2, Mesopotamian Unity. We go over the Enuma Anu Enlil tablets, 7,000 celestial elements. The scribe is both observer and interpreter. The false modern distinction between superstition and science, and a field exercise, reading a planetary omen without irony. So these are just examples of what I'm trying to teach and get out on this channel as well. So weeks 3 through 4, Hellenistic Schismogenes, Plato's Timaeus, the cosmos as intelligent being, Aristotle's Decalo, the separation of sublunary and superlunary, Stoic sympathy versus Epicurean indifference, Ptolemy as both astronomer and astrologer, and the failure of later readers to hold both. Going all the way to 12, we're going through the Islamic synthesis and its fragmentation. The Baghdad translation movement, Greek astronomy married to Persian astrology. Al-Biruni's The Exhaustive Treatise on Shadows, Science, and Interpretation as Complementary. The Almohad and Mamluk Reforms, The Rise of Purely Mathematical Astronomy, with our case study Nazir al-Din al-Tusi and the Maragha Observatory, Astrology Practiced in Secret, Astronomy Published in Public. Okay. 7 through 8, the Latin West and the Severing, 13th century influx of Arabic astrology through Spain, Albertus Magnus, Thomas Aquinas' accommodation and suspicion, the condemnation of 1277, astrology as theological threat, the gradual separation of astronomia, mathematics, from astrologia, judgment. The scientific revolution and the final decree, Copernicus, astrologer but not cited as such, Kepler, the last great synthesizer and the first to be dismissed as eccentric, Newton, obsessed with prophecy, silent in publication, the Royal Society, and the invisibilization of interpretive skywatching. And finally, weeks 11 through 12, what was lost, what was gone, astronomy lost, meaning, purpose, relation, the cosmos became mute, astrology lost, rigor, constraint, falsifiability, the practice became unmoored, both lost conversation with each other. And the seminar synthesis, is reunion possible? Is it desirable? And of course we have our core readings, we have an assessment to go over. The heavenly writing, divination, horoscopy, and astronomy in Mesopotamian culture. Ancient astrology, the beginnings of Western science, prophecy and power, astrology in early modern England, the northern history of astronomy and cosmology, the book of instruction and the elements of the art of astrology, with a Ramsey Wright translation. Okay. And here's our assessment. First, we have the forensic reading, 40%. Select a primary text from any period prior to 1700 that has been conventionally classified as either astronomical or astrological. Demonstrate that this classification is anachronistic, that the text contains both modes, and that later readers have actively suppressed one to preserve disciplinary purity. The counterfactual archive, 60%. Construct an annotated bibliography of 5 texts that should have existed. They were never written. Works that have bridged the growing divide. For each, provide imagined author and historical context, plausible title and contents, explanation of why this text was not in fact produced, what its existence would have changed. And then I'll show you some examples of those 2 things in a later video. But right now we're going to keep on going. This is just an introduction. So, module-specific warning. Students who enter this module believing astrology to be unscientific will leave unsettled. Students who enter believing astrology to be persecuted wisdom will leave unsettled. The truth is more uncomfortable than either position. Alright, module 102. Switch up the colors in here. Alright. We're going over celestial mechanics. Gosh, I gotta stop it and get more accurate. Celestial mechanics as sacred geometry. We're going over Kepler's harmonies, tedious Bode law, and Rosnant's orbits. Okay, our module director is the chair of mathematical mysticism, with a credit weight of 4 transdimensional credits. Our delivery, it's 12 weekly seminars and 6 computational laboratories with a prerequisite advanced orbital mechanics or permission of instructor. And then we get into our description. So Johannes Kepler discovered the laws of planetary motion. He also believed he had discovered the musical score of the cosmos. Modern astronomy honors the first achievement and embarrasses itself over the second. This module refuses the embarrassment. We take Kepler's Harmonices Mundi as seriously as his Astronomia Nova, not as a regrettable mysticism, but as a methodological hypothesis. What if the solar system is not merely orderly, but beautiful? What if beauty is not a subjective overlay, but an objective feature of celestial arrangement? We extend Kepler's inquiry through subsequent mathematics, the Titius-Bode law, orbital resonance, mean motion resonances, and the exoplanetary systems now revealing their own harmonic architectures. We ask not whether these patterns are real, but what kind of reality they possess, mathematical, aesthetic, archetypal, or all three simultaneously. And of course, we have our key topics. So weeks 1 through 2, we're talking about Kepler's 3 laws and their secret: the Astronomia Nova, Mars, ellipses, and the war on circular prejudice. The Harmonices Mundi, why Kepler did not consider this a separate project. The musical intervals of the planets: Saturn's 4-5 minor 3rd, Jupiter's 1-3 minor 6th, Earth's 5-12 minor 7th. Laboratory: reconstruct Kepler's harmonic ratios from modern orbital data. Weeks 3 through 4, the polyhedral hypothesis, going over Kepler's Mysterium Cosmographicum, the nested Platonic solids, why it was wrong and why it was fertile, the persistence of geometric explanation in cosmology. Case study on modern nested models, Bode's law, scaling theories. Now weeks 5 through 6. Titius-Bode law, coincidence or code. Johann Titius, 1766, Johann Bode, 1772. The sequence 0, 3, 6, 12, 24. The discovery of Uranus at 19.2 AU predicted 19.6, Ceres at 2.77 AU predicted 2.8. The subsequent fall from grace. In a seminar, does a law cease to be a law if it has no mechanism? Weeks 7 through 8, orbital resonance is cosmic grammar. The mathematics of resonance: 2-1, 3-2, 4-2. Pluto-Neptune 3-2 resonance, never closer than 17 AU. Io, Europa, Ganymede, 4-2-1, Laplace resonance. Exoplanetary resonances: TRA, PPIS, T1's near resonant chain. In the laboratory, compute resonance angles, visualize as wave interference. And finally, we're getting down to week 9 through 10, the music of the exoplanets. Kepler's harmonics applied to other suns, the discovery of resonant chains in compact systems. Do exoplanets compose in the same keys as our own? With the case study on the TRAPPIST-1 system as a 19th century romantic symphony. And week 11 through 12, synthesis, sacred geometry as operational hypothesis. Is sacred a mathematical or theological category? Cosmology of beauty, from Plato to Pythagoras to Kepler to today. And a seminar: if the cosmos were ugly, will we trust our measurements? And that's the thing, it's a biased statement, right? If the cosmos were ugly. But we don't know. Is the cosmos beautiful, ugly? Because life on Earth involves both, so. Now let's look at our core readings. We have Harmonies of the World, Mysterium Cosmographicum, A Little Book of Coincidence, Solar System Dynamics, and non-Keplerian Dynamics in Exoplanets. And our assessment: it's harmonic analysis, 30%. The sacred geometry objection is 30%. And capstone, the Keplerian intervention, is 40%. So, harmonic analysis: select a planetary system, solar or exoplanetary, and compute its full set of mean motion resonances. Represent these resonances as musical intervals, submit both the computational data set and a 500-word interpretation of the resulting composition. The sacred geometry objection. Write a rigorous philosophical defense of the proposition that beauty is not a valid criterion for cosmological theory. Then write an equally rigorous refutation. Do not resolve the contradiction. And third, imagine you are Johannes Kepler, transported to the 21st century with access to all exoplanetary data. Write the final chapter of a new Harmonices Mundi based on this expanded dataset. What harmonies does he discover? What mysteries remain? Our laboratory requirements. Students must complete 6 computational labs using either Python or Mathematica. Orbital element calculation from radical velocity data. Resonance angle computation and time series analysis. Harmonic ratio extraction and musical notation. Tidius Bode fitting for arbitrary planetary systems. Nested geometric model construction, and Keplerian harmonic synthesis audio output. No prior musical training required, pitch deafness accommodated. Now, here we go, Module 103, Archetypal Astronomy. The mythology embedded in constellation nomenclature and deep space object naming. Their modules director being the share of celestial semiotics, credit weight, 4 transdimensional credits, delivery, 12 weekly seminars, and 2 planetarium intensives, and our prerequisite familiarity with 88 constellations and mythographic literacy. Alright, let's dive into it. Our description. The International Astronomical Union designates stars by catalog numbers. These names are precise, unambiguous, and devoid of meaning beyond coordinate reference, but the sky itself refuses this sterility. We still call it Orion, though no one has sacrificed a bullet to him in 2 millennia. We still call it Andromeda, though Cassiopeia no longer boasts. We still call it the Pleiades, though the 7 sisters have lost all but 6 visible daughters. These names are not neutral. They are sedimented mythologies, carrying within them the cosmologies, anxieties, and aspirations of every culture that has ever looked up and recognized itself in the stars. This module excavates that sediment. We treat constellation nomenclature not as arbitrary historical accident, but as archetypal encoding, a system of meaning that persists despite and often against the official protocols of scientific astronomy. We then extend this inquiry to deep space objects, the Horsehead Nebula, the Sombrero Galaxy, the Pillars of Creation. Who names these? What do the names reveal? What do they conceal? Our key topics will involve the following. So weeks 1 through 2, we're looking at the 88 constellations. It's a semiotic survey. The Ptolemaic 48, Greek mythology as cosmic taxonomy, the Southern editions, imperialism written in the sky, Microscopium, Anthelia, Telescopium. The rejected constellations, quadrants, Machina Electrica, Officina Typographica. In a field exercise, choose an obsolete constellation, argue for its restoration. Weeks 3 through 4, asterisms and alternative cartographies. The Big Dipper as plow, bear, wagon, saucepan. Indigenous astronomies, the emu in the sky, the celestial canoe, the Chinese lunar mansions, 28 segments, not 12 signs, and a case study, the Pleiades, 7 sisters, 6 stars, 400 cultures. Weeks 5 through 6. The archetypes beneath the glyphs: Perseus, the rescuer, the decapitator, the hero; Cassiopeia, the vain queen chained to her chair; Hercules, the strong man kneeling, his labor invisible. In a seminar, do the constellations encode Jungian universals, or are they locally specific? Alright. Weeks 7 through 8. Deep sky objects and the poetics of naming: the Crab Nebula; William Parsons' 19th century sketch, The Misperceived Claw; the Sombrero Galaxy; Pierre Michel's descriptive nominalism; the Pillars of Creation; biblical resonance in Hubble imaging; and a laboratory analyze the press releases accompanying major Hubble Webb images, extract implicit theological commitments. Weeks 9 through 10. The problem of exoplanet nomenclature. HD 209458b, A-series, atmospheric evaporation, the dismembered god; 51 Pegasus B, Bellerophon, the hero who rode Pegasus; the IAU's Name Exoworlds public voting campaigns seminar. Is public naming democratization or the illusion of participation? And week 11 through 12, our synthesis toward an archetypal astronomy: the astronomer as mythographer, the astrologer as astronomical literacy advocate, with a proposal: restore mythological literacy to astronomy education; capstone preparation, design a new constellation for the 21st century. Alright, and our core readings: Star Names, Their Lore and Meaning; Exploring Ancient Skies, a survey of ancient and cultural astronomy; Astronomy and the Archaeology of Power, Origins of the Ancient Constellations. And we're looking at NASA ESA Hubble Space Telescope Image Release Archive. And our assessment: we have the obsolete constellation memoir. Select one of the 37 obsolete constellations, for example, Quadrans Muralis, Globus Aerostaticus, Felis. Write a 1,500-word biography of this constellation. Its birth, its brief life, its death at the hands of the IAU. What worldview did it encode? Why was it erased? Does it deserve resurrection? With our indigenous constellation study, research an indigenous celestial tradition, not your own. Document its constellation system, its naming principles, and its cosmological function. Reflect critically on your position as an outsider. Propose one respectful mechanism for integrating this knowledge into mainstream astronomy education. And capstone, the 89th constellation. Design a new constellation for the contemporary era. Here's what you must provide: name and etymology, stars included with coordinates, mythological or archetypal narrative, cultural significance for the 21st century, visual representation, digital or hand-drawn. This constellation will be added to the Institute's internal celestial archive. Exceptional submissions will be submitted to the IAU working group on star names. There we go. And our planetarium intensives will involve 2 required sessions in the Institute's full dome digital planetarium. Right? Awesome as fuck. The constellations as palimpsest, layer ancient Greek, indigenous, and modern scientific names over the same star fields. Deep sky poetics, unlabeled projections. Students provide live narration of their own devising. Module 104. 104, man. 104. Hermeneutics of the horoscope. Advanced chart synthesis is multidimensional text analysis. This time our module director is the Chair of Celestial Hermeneutics, with The credit weight, 6 trans-dimensional credits, capstone module, delivery, 16 weekly seminars, and 8 practicum sessions. And our prerequisite, module 101, 102, 103, or demonstrated advanced horoscopic literacy. Here's our description. So a horoscope is not a prediction machine. It is a text. Like any text, it requires interpretation. Like the most sophisticated text, it operates on multiple levels simultaneously. Literal and symbolic, personal and collective, temporal and eternal. Like sacred texts, it has generated commentatorial traditions spanning millennia and continents. Like poetry, it yields different meanings to different readers, and to the same reader at different times. This module trains students in the advanced hermeneutics of the horoscope. We draw equally from classical astrological technique, Ptolemy, Valens, Abu Mashar, Lilly, and from 20th century hermeneutic philosophy, Heidegger, Gadamer, Recuer, Jauss. We treat the horoscope as an interpretable object demanding both rigorous method and creative receptivity. We ask not only what does this chart mean, but how does it mean, and who is authorized to mean. Okay, so here are our key topics. Weeks 1 through 2, we're going over the horoscope as text, foundations of celestial hermeneutics. What does it mean to read a chart? The reader, the text, the author, the referent. And Schleiermacher's hermeneutic circle applied to horoscopic synthesis. The practicum, read the same chart 3 times, 3 days apart, compare and contrast. And that's how you actually synthesize a chart. Alright, weeks 3 through 4, Ptolemy and the Tetrabiblos, the first systematic hermeneutic. Ptolemy's twofold method, universal and particular, the doctrine of katarsi, election as textual production, the problem of multiple significators, and a seminar, did Ptolemy believe astrology worked? Does it matter? Weeks 5 through 6, Valens and the Anthology, the pragmatic hermeneutic. Vedia's Valens as working astrologer, not theorist, lot of fortune, lot of Eros, the 40 plus lots. The hermeneutics of emergency, what Valens did when the rules failed. And practicum, calculate and integrate 3 Hellenistic lots into a modern chart reading. Weeks 7 through 8, Abu Mashar and the Persian synthesis, the great conjunctions, history written in Jupiter-Saturn meetings, the hermeneutics of collective destiny. And a seminar, does the horoscope of a nation differ ontologically from the horoscope of an individual? Okay, weeks 9 through 10, we're going over William Lilly and the English Civil War. So Christian astrology, 1647, it's the first English textbook. Lilly's parliamentary horoscopes, hermeneutics under political pressure. The problem of verifiability, did Lilly predict the fire of London? And practicum, reconstructed Lilly's chart for the first battle of Newbury, 1643, evaluate his judgment. Weeks 11 through 12, Gadamer and the fusion of horizons, Workungus Ges Shishit, the history of a chart's effects, the classic chart and its tradition, prejudice as condition of understanding, and a seminar. Can we read a 2nd century horoscope without 2nd century assumptions? And finally, boiling down, weeks 13 through 14. Whoa, we're way past 3. So Recuer and the hermeneutics of suspicion. We're going through Karl Marx, Nietzsche, Freud, the masters of suspicion. Is astrology a projective system? Yes. Also, is that a problem? The hermeneutics of affirmation, reading beyond debunking, and practicum, apply Freudian, Marxist, and feminist hermeneutics to the same chart. Weeks 15 through 16, synthesis, the multidimensional reading, integrating techniques, Hellenistic, medieval, modern, evolutionary. The temporal dimension, chart as biography, not snapshot. The collective dimension, chart as cultural artifact. The cosmic dimension, chart as a universe expressing itself locally, and capstone practicum, full spectrum chart synthesis under supervision. Our core readings: Tetrabiblos by Ptolemy, Valens Vedia's Anthology, Abu Mashar on Historical Astrology, of course William Lilly's Christian Astrology, Truth and Method by Hans Georg Gadamer, Freud and Philosophy, Paul Recor, An Essay on Interpretation, A Whole Sign House is the Oldest House System by Robert Ham, and Hellenistic Astrology, The Study of Fate and Fortune by Chris Brennan. So here's our assessment. The close reading: select a single horoscope from any historical period, produce a 2,500 word close reading that attends to its technical construction, houses, aspects, dignities, its hermeneutic assumptions, what counts as significant, its historical situation, who commissioned it, why, its reception history, has it been interpreted before. The comparative synthesis: select a contemporary horoscope, yours or a consenting subject. Produce 3 complete chart interpretations, each using a different astrological tradition. For example, Hellenistic, medieval, Vedic, evolutionary. Do not harmonize them. Analyze the points of convergence and irreconcilable difference. Okay. And then finally, third, we have capstone, the full spectrum reading. Conduct a professional level horoscope consultation with a volunteer subject. You will be observed by a faculty supervisor. Submit the recorded consultation, audio transcript, your preparatory notes, and chart calculations. A 1,500 word reflexive analysis of your interpretive choices and the subject's written feedback. This assessment fulfills the Institute's clinical practicum requirement. Now we look at our practicum requirements. So we have 8 supervised practicum sessions, like chart calculation and data verification, house system comparison, Placides, whole sign, equal, Coke, Hellenistic lots, hand predictive techniques, medieval planetary dignity assessment, modern psychological synthesis, evolutionary nodal interpretation, horary technique, and full spectrum integration. Ethical covenant: students are reminded that the horoscope subject is not a specimen. The chart is a sacred trust. Interpretation is not diagnosis. Prediction is not prescription. The hermeneutics of the horoscope begins and ends in humility. So this is our year 1 capstone, the Restoration Synod. At the conclusion of the 4 modules, students gather for a 2-week residential intensive at the Institute's primary campus. The purpose is to integrate the 4 streams of inquiry into a unified orientation towards celestial study, with the format being presentation of Module 104 capstone readings to faculty and peers, collaborative chart synthesis of a significant contemporary event, public defense of one's emerging cosmological position, with an assessment, pass-fail, determined by faculty consensus. The synod cannot be failed, but it can be deferred. Thus concludes the first year of restoration. Now you have learned how the divorce occurred. You have learned the mathematics of cosmic harmony. You have learned the mythologies inscribed upon the sky. You have learned to read the chart as a living text. You are not yet restored. That is the work of the second year. But you have begun. The cosmos notes your attention. It responds accordingly. And now I was going to get into this one because this is our orientation assembly for the year 1 ingress. So as you can see, it's for the same Institute of Celestial and Interior Architectures. And it's the opening of the vessel. I'll go through part 1 first, which is the chamber. So the chamber of first light is not a hall. It is a hollowed planetoid. The Institute's primary campus does not sit upon the Earth. It sits within a captured carbonaceous chondrite, approximately 2.3 kilometers in diameter, anchored in a halo orbit at the Earth-Moon L1 point. The exterior is unremarkable, a dark rotating potato of primordial aggregate, indistinguishable from 1,000 other near-Earth objects to the untrained sensor. The interior is something else entirely. The chamber occupies the central cavity, where the original parent body's differentiation was interrupted before it could complete itself. The walls are crystallized olivine and pyroxene, backlit by fiber optic threads woven into the fractures during the Institute's founding century. The light is amber, then violet, then amber again, cycling at a frequency calibrated to the 8.6-year period of Mercury's perihelion precession. The floor is not flat, follows the geoid of the asteroid's internal gravity gradient, a subtle curvature perceptible only to the vestibular system. First-time visitors often report the sensation of standing on the inside of a sphere. There are no chairs. Students stand or sit upon the meteoritic benches carved from the parent body's lesser fragments. The benches are cold. This is intentional. At the center of the chamber, where the focus lines of every crystalline facet converge, stands the speaker's position, a single slab of unworked troy-like, magnetic to approximately 1.3 Gauss, angled precisely to the local magnetic field vector of the asteroid's original accretion disk. This is where the wizard stands. Set the scene for you guys like a big story. Part 2 is the assembly. The first years have arrived. 53 in number. Drawn from 31 terrestrial nations, and, according to admissions records, at least 4 non-terrestrial origins. Undisclosed diplomatic immunity. They wear the Institute's provisional vestments, unbleached linen, undyed, cut to permit full range of motion and variable gravity. Their faces are various stages of awe, terror, and the peculiar stillness that overtakes humans when they realize they have crossed a threshold that cannot be recrossed. The senior faculty are arranged along the chamber's perimeter, their own vestments graduated to deeper indigos, their postures betraying nothing. Dr. Imani Okonkwo, chair of celestial semiotics, studies a first year from the Beta Pictoris moving group with quiet anthropological interest. Professor Isaiah Nakamura has already opened his computational slate and is annotating something in the magnetic field fluctuations. Dr. Helena Voss watches the door, as she always does. The wizard has not yet arrived. The troy-like slab at the center is empty, but the magnetic field is rising. A voice, unamplified, audible to every occupant regardless of distance or intervening obstruction. You expected a door. There is no door. You have already entered. The wizard is standing at the slab. No one saw her arrive. She's tall. This is not remarkable. Many are tall. What is remarkable is that she appears to be at varying distances from each observer simultaneously. Close enough to touch, far enough to be a figure on a horizon. Her vestments are the color of a carbon star at the end of its life cycle. Deep red, almost black, with the barest scintillation of crystallized silicon carbide at the cuffs and collar. Her hair is silver, but not with age. It is the silver of a type I supernova, approximately 12 days post-peak, when the nickel-56 decay is yielding to cobalt-56 and the light curve is beginning its exponential fall. She holds nothing. She requires nothing. Her name is Alara of the Hyades. Though that is not her birth name and not the name on her institute credentials, she is 147 years old in terrestrial years and approximately 680 million years old in moving group years, having been born in the manner of speaking to a star that has long since left the main sequence. She is the chair of Exoastrological Hermeneutics Emerita, the founding director of the Archive of Extrasolar Archetypes, and the author of 17 texts that are not so much read as consulted, like oracles. This is all a part of my advanced astrology book, by the way. My anthology. She is, by any reasonable definition, a genius of the universe. She does not believe in genius. Part 3, the keynote. Address to the Ingress cohort delivered by Professor Hilera at the Hyades, Chair Emerita Exoastrological Hermeneutics, Institute of Celestial and Interior Architectures. 1 degree of Aquarius. On the reading of alien skies. First years, Ingress cohort, threshold walkers. You have come here because you have felt in your bones and in your calculations that the sky is not silent. You have felt that the universe is speaking and that you were born with the capacity, the obligation to listen. I am here to tell you that you are correct, and I am here to tell you that you have understood almost nothing. You come from a tradition, several traditions, interwoven, sometimes contradictory, that learned to read the sky from the solar system. You have memorized the signatures of Saturn and Jupiter, of Mars and Venus, of Mercury and its wandering lights. You have learned that Saturn crystallizes, that Jupiter expands, that Mars asserts, that Venus relates. You have learned that the moon receives and reflects, and that the sun is the source of all visibility. These are not wrong, they are provincial. Saturn is not the only boundary. Saturn is a boundary we know. There are stars in this galaxy with planetary architecture so different from ours that the word planet becomes a courtesy translation. There are worlds that orbit their host in 4.2 hours, completing a full year before you could finish this orientation. There are worlds that have never known a circular orbit, whose distance from their sun varies by a factor of 10, whose seasons are not cycles but catastrophes. There are worlds that orbit 2 suns, 3 suns, no suns, wandering between the stars in perpetual darkness, heated only by their own radioactive cores and a faint memory of formation. Every one of these worlds has an astrological signature. Every one of these worlds is speaking. The question is not whether you can hear them. The question is whether you are willing to learn how. So let's talk about a yellow dwarf, slightly smaller than the sun, with 5 planets arrayed in a tight resonant chain. Its orbital periods displayed in shimmering numerals. Well, this is TRAPPIST-1. 40 light years from the Earth that you believe is the center of your universe. 7 worlds, 4 of them in the habitable zone. A resonant chain so precise that it can be transcribed as music. I want you to hear it, but I can't play it for you. Not exactly, because it's not music exactly. It's a series of pulses, rhythmic but complex, a polyphony of periods. 1.51 days, 2.42 days, 4.04 days, 6.06 days, 9.08 days, 12.35 days, 18.76 days. Each planet contributes its orbital frequency. They layer upon each other like voices in a fugue. The resonance emerges not from the individual periods, but from their ratios. 8-5, 5-3, 3-2, 4-3. The Laplace chain speaks in intervals Kepler would have recognized instantly. So this is what the system is. Not rock and iron, frozen water. Not radiation flux and tidal locking and the fragile possibility of life. Those are its materials. This is its grammar, the pulsing harmonics. When you learn to read a chart in the solar system, you learn a specific dialect. You learn that the sun signifies vitality, the moon signifies receptivity, Mercury signifies communication. These significations emerge from millennia of observation, correlation, refinement. They are not arbitrary. They are the sedimented wisdom of generations who watch these specific bodies and ask, what do you do? What do you mean? The sun of TRAPPIST-1 is not your sun. It is an ultra-cool dwarf, 1/8 the mass of Sol, so dim that its habitable zone is crushed inward to orbital periods of days. Its flares are frequent and brutal. Its gravity is weak. Its light is infrared. What does the sun signify? You cannot know. Not yet. No one knows. The tradition that will answer this question has not yet been built. You are here to build it. Now, let's talk about a single planet on a wildly eccentric orbit, swinging from 0.03 AU to 0.88 AU every 111 days. In this visualizing animation, it exaggerates the orbital path. The planet traces a screaming ellipse, close enough to roast, far enough to freeze, back and forth, never settling. So HD 80606b, a hot Jupiter with an eccentricity of 0.93. Its atmosphere, when it approaches perihelion, heats from 800 Kelvin to 1500 Kelvin in 6 hours. The temperature change is so rapid that the shock waves propagate through its upper atmosphere at supersonic speeds. What does this planet signify? Do not tell me Mars. Do not tell me aggression or assertion or the warrior archetype. Mars does not orbit its sun every 111 days. Mars does not experience temperature swings of 700 degrees in a single afternoon. Mars is not this. This planet is not expressing the archetype of Mars. This planet is expressing itself. Your task, your sacred, impossible task, is to learn to read that expression, not to map the familiar onto the unknown, not to colonize alien skies with Greek gods and Roman epithets, but to listen to what these worlds are actually saying in their own languages, through their own orbital grammars, their own atmospheric compositions, their own magnetic fields and ring systems and volcanic plumes, and the faint, persistent glow of their internal heat. This is not astrology as you have known it. This is exo-astrology, and it does not yet exist until me, Piscean Exo-Vibe. I've invented it, and you will help me further this invention. Generations to come. So, now let's talk about this. How some of you may be mathematicians. You love math. Some of you are mythographers. Some of you are programmers, historians, artists, priests. Some of you are not certain what you are, which is the best qualification, actually. In the coming years, you will learn to calculate orbital resonances and to hear them as music. You will learn to read the age of a star in its rotation period and to feel that age's tempo. You will learn to measure the metallicity of a planetary host and understand that metallicity as inheritance. The weight of generations of stellar death that made the system possible. You will learn that a hot Jupiter orbiting a young, rapidly rotating star is not the same as a hot Jupiter orbiting an old, quiet star. The configuration is identical, the meaning is not. Age changes everything. Context changes everything. Relationship changes everything. This is what you have been missing. This is what you came here to find. I was born in a manner of speaking to a star that is no longer on the main sequence. My moving group, the Hyades, is dispersing. Its members are scattered across the constellation Taurus, drifting apart at a few kilometers per second, their shared origin becoming less legible with each passing million years. I have spent my career studying the astrological signatures of stellar associations. I have asked, what does it mean to be born among siblings? And to spend billions of years slowly losing them. What does it mean for the sun to have been born in a cluster that has long since dissolved, its siblings scattered to unknowable coordinates, its shared origin visible only through the most painstaking kinematic reconstruction? I have asked these questions because I am a genius of the universe. That is what you will be called if you succeed here, genius of the universe. It is not a compliment, it is a description. A genius of the universe is someone who has learned to read the universe's self-expression, not to master it, not to exploit it, not to reduce it to human categories and human concerns, but to witness it in its full, terrifying, beautiful otherness. A genius of the universe is someone who can cast a horoscope for a star that died 5 billion years ago, and recognize that the chart is not a prediction, but a eulogy. A genius of the universe is someone who can look at a white dwarf with metal lines in its spectrum and say, you have eaten your children, you carry them within you now. That is not murder, this is metabolism. This is what it means to be a star. A genius of the universe is someone who can listen to the resonant chain of TRAPPIST-1 and hear not the music of the spheres, but the music of these specific spheres, this particular configuration, this one system among billions expressing itself in intervals that no human that no human ear evolved to hear. I did not mean to say that. You are not geniuses of the universe yet, but you will be. I've been asked to tell you something about the year ahead. I've been asked to be practical very well. In Module 201, you will learn that exoplanetary systems have astrological signatures, and that these signatures are not arbitrary. You will learn that hot Jupiters are statistically associated with young hosts, and that this is not a coincidence, but a developmental stage. You will learn to ask, what does it mean for a planet to be close to its parent? What does it mean to outgrow that proximity? In Module 202, you will learn that stars move in groups, and that these groups retain the memory of their shared birth. You will learn to cast horoscopes not only for individuals but for cohorts, entire generations of stars that have traveled together for hundreds of millions of years. You will learn that the Pleiades are not 7 sisters but 100 siblings, most of whom you cannot see without a telescope. In Module 203, you will learn that machines can read the sky, and that this does not diminish the human reader but extends them. You will train neural networks to recognize stellar rotation periods. You will build Bayesian models of moving group membership. You will teach algorithms to hear the music of resonance chains. Then you will ask them what that music means. In Module 204, you will learn to witness endings. You will cast horoscopes for planets that have been engulfed by their dying stars. You will read the spectral signatures of consumed worlds in the atmospheres of white dwarfs. You will ask, what does it mean to be remembered only as pollution? And at the end of this year, you will present your first synthesis. You will stand where I am standing now, or somewhere else, because this chamber is not fixed and neither are you. And you will tell your teachers and your peers what you have learned. You will be wrong. This is not a failure. This is the method. I have been a genius of the universe for 147 years. I'm obviously joking around. I have been wrong for most of them. I expect to continue being wrong until my carbon-silicon matrix finally decoheres and my constituent atoms return to the interstellar medium from which they were borrowed. Being wrong is not the opposite of being a genius. Being wrong is the practice. You will practice here. You will practice until being wrong no longer terrifies you. You will practice until being wrong becomes interesting. You will practice until being wrong is simply the prelude to being less wrong, which is the only kind of right that the universe permits. This is what we, meaning I, offer you on this YouTube channel. Which is why you should subscribe, like, comment. So, not certainty, not mastery, not the satisfaction of a closed system that explains everything and learns nothing. We offer you the privilege of being wrong systematically, rigorously, beautifully for the rest of your career. We offer you the privilege of listening to alien skies and mishearing them, and then listening again and mishearing them differently, and then listening again, and gradually over decades beginning to hear something that might perhaps be something like what they are actually saying. We offer you the privilege of becoming not the master of the universe, but its student. So, the Chamber of First Light, as a concept, it's named for a specific phenomenon. When this asteroid was still accreting, still gathering its constituent grains from the protoplanetary disk, it was not yet dark. Every infalling particle, every collision, every grain of dust that joined the growing body released its kinetic energy as light. For a few million years, this world was luminous, not from fusion, not from reflection, but from the simple act of becoming itself. That light has long since faded. The asteroid is cold now, dark, differentiated only in the most rudimentary sense. Its accretion is complete. Its becoming is finished. Yours is not. You are still gathering mass. You are still infalling. You are still colliding with ideas and people and experiences that will not always integrate smoothly, that will release energy in unpredictable flares, that will illuminate you from within, whether you wish to be illuminated or not. This is first light. This is what it means to be a first year. The chamber remembers its own formation. You will remember yours. And one more thing. The universe is not silent. It has never been silent. You are not here to make it speak. You are here to learn to hear what it's been saying all along. Now, following the keynote address, first years are conducted to the Institute's primary world building facility, the Panspermia Antilyre, located in the asteroid's northern rotational hemisphere, also known as the planet world. So the Antilyre is not a simulation chamber. It is a generative foundry. Here, students do not merely study exoplanetary systems, they construct them in miniature, in silica, and mathematical abstraction in the resonant space between imagination and instantiation, yeah. Sorry, the Atelier houses 12 gravity neutral fabrication pods, each capable of rendering a complete planetary system at 110 million, 110 million scale using magnetically confined dust plasmas and precision-tuned orbital rails. The systems are not permanent. They exist for approximately 47 minutes before the containment fields decay and the constituent particles are recycled into the foundry's feedstock. In those 47 minutes, students may observe, measure, interact, and for those with sufficient attunement, converse. The first years are not permitted to operate the pods, but they are permitted to observe a demonstration. Demonstration subject is TRAPPIST-1E, the system's fourth planet, widely considered its most Earth analogous, with the operator Professor Hilaire of the Hyades. So the pod activates within its transparent containment sphere. A cloud of carbonaceous dust ignites with magnetic induction, swirling into a vortex that gradually resolves into a sphere. The sphere cools, its surface differentiates, crust, mantle, core, oceans condense from the feedstock's trace volatiles. Clouds form, dissipate, reform. 47 minutes. So this world has surface water, it has an atmosphere, it receives approximately 60% of the insolation that Earth receives from Sol. Its orbital period is 6.1 days, it is tidally locked. One hemisphere perpetually facing its star, the other perpetually dark. Conventional astrobiology would ask, could this world support life? We ask, what kind of life would choose to emerge here? We ask, what would it mean to be born on a world without night, without dawn, without the daily oscillation between presence and absence that has shaped every terrestrial circadian rhythm, every sleep cycle, every metaphor of death and rebirth? We ask, what would the inhabitants of this world dream about? This is what we do here. We do not merely study worlds. We become them. We become worlds. Briefly, partially, and perfectly. We inhabit their orbital periods and their tidal locks and their atmospheric compositions. We ask what it would be like to be born on a world that orbits its sun in 6 days. And then when we release them back into the feedstock, we begin again. This is world building. This is exo-astrological hermeneutics. This is the practice of becoming a genius of the universe. You will learn it. It will take the rest of your life. Let's look at the ingress ritual. Following the Atelier demonstration, first years are conducted to the Chamber of First Light for the formal ingress ritual. Here's 53 of them. They stand in a circle around the twilight slab, which now bears a single object, a small unpolished sphere of carbonaceous chondrite, approximately 7 centimeters in diameter, identical in composition to the asteroid that houses the Institute. So each first year approaches the slab in turn. Each places their right hand upon the sphere. Each speaks their name, their origin, and their intention. Intentions, of course, vary. Like, for example, I am a Leander of Earth, Berlin, 1998. I came here because I've always heard music in orbital periods, and I need to know if the music is real. I am Sordia of the Beta Pictoris Moving Group, 17.8 million years in association years, 23 in terrestrial. I came here because my star is young, and I need to understand what that means. I am Elohim, no fixed origin, no fixed birth time, no fixed gender. I came here because I am tired of systems that cannot accommodate superposition. I am Marcus of Earth, Sao Paulo, 1995. I came here because my grandmother read charts and my father built horoscopes and neither of them could forgive the other. I came here to repair the divorce. When the last first year is spoken, the sphere begins to glow. It's not dramatic. It's not the blazing ignition of stellar fusion or the cataclysmic flash of a supernova. It's the faint, persistent luminescence of an accreting body receiving its final infall of dust. The light of becoming, of gathering, of a world still in the process of forming itself. First light, the chamber remembers, now the first years will remember too. The sphere closed and the glow fades, the ingress is complete. So now the first years are now students of the Institute of Celestial and Interior Architecture's candidates for the degree of Master of Advanced Astrologically-Based Arts and Astronomy. They have so many days remaining in their program, give or take a few billion years of moving group time. The universe continues its address, they're beginning at last to learn to hear it. And next, we would go over Year 1, Module 101, which is the history of divorce between astrology and astronomy. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.